welcome to another amazing episode of Say It Online, where we help digital agency owners stop just randomly shouting into the void and start communicating meaningfully and effectively in this digital age. I'm your host, Say Gabriel, and this episode was brought to you by our sponsor, Nancy Content. If you're sick of conversion content being a huge pain in your agency's butt, especially websites, campaigns, etc., let's talk. With the smoothest content process ever, a team of unbelievably skilled and organized content strategists, and years of subcontracting experience, Anansi is looking to make your life as a digital agency owner unbelievably easier. Just head, if you're interested, to anansicontent.com, that's ANANSI content.com, and hit Let's Talk. And now, without further ado, here's our episode. Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to welcome today's guest, Fabienne Raphaël. Now, Fabienne Raphaël is a business building coach, speaker, and podcaster. With her one-on-one coaching and retreats, she helps aspiring and underpaid coaches become highly paid experts by building their coaching business and living their true purpose. Her background in radio and television hosting allowed her to conduct unique interviews on her top-ranked Marketing to Crush Your Competitors podcast, where she has broadcasted 300 episodes. Through the course of her own career, she's even hosted her own TV show. Fabienne has also shared the stage with John Lee Dumas, Brogan, and Sue Zimmerman, and spoke at the last New Media Europe conference in London. She's been featured in Forbes, ABC, Fox, CBS, Inc., Huffington Post, has appeared on over 30 podcasts, such as CopyChief Radio and Entrepreneur on Fire. Incidentally, it is hearing her on a podcast that I first discovered Fabienne several years ago, and I have been following her for a long, long time. Anyway, as a former elite athlete and physical therapist, Fabienne brings a high level of energy, radiance, and authenticity to lead her clients to a thriving business that meets their expectations. And last but not least, Fabienne was an athlete's mentor with the Canadian delegation at the 2019 Pan American Games in Lima, Peru. Welcome, Fabienne.
It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
I am super stoked to talk to you today. I have actually been following you for a few years. I originally heard you on, I'm not sure what podcast, but I know I've listened to a few episodes of yours over time, and I've watched your business kind of evolve through the Facebook groups and through the other things that you've been doing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, super stoked to kind of dig into it today with you. So I just want to clarify for our audience. So when you say coaches, now what exactly do you mean by that? I know you have a background in fitness. So is that like athletes, business, life coaches, service providers? What does that look like for you?
Okay. So, well, it's funny because I mostly relate with people that are sports related or healthcare related due to my background. So most of the coaches that I help have a healthcare kind of background. So nurses, there are life coaches, people that used to be therapists and want to shift and have their own stuff online and live their purpose and all that stuff. Most of them are kind of like frustrated of the system because we know that the healthcare system is not always as we wish. And most of these people feel that it's as if they're running a battle, but it's kind of hard to experiment that change. So they feel that if they switch into owning what their true purpose is and with their expertise and everything that they've gotten from their experience, life, or professional experience, then they can build their coaching business and influence others with it.
Thank you. That's very succinct. And I definitely know that I've spoken to many people who are struggling with that, with that sense of purpose and living what they do. So I'm curious, what would you say is your purpose? How did you come to this space and why is it that you do what you do now?
That's funny that you asked that because I had no clue. Let's say, as a kid, sometimes kids have dreams and they're like, well, when I grow up, I'll do this. So when I grew up, I never saw myself as an entrepreneur, actually. And I think that growing up while seeing my parents working all their lives, a long time at the same place for like 20, 30 years, then I thought that this was what my future would be. So I embraced the career and I went to college. And then when I came out, well, I was like, well, I'll get this job and I'll stay in there for, a lifetime if I can. And if I can't, well, it was never in my idea to switch careers. And let's say that my path was filled with meeting people that were at the right moment at the right time. And at the time I met my business and life partner today, he was already into working for himself and personal development. And let's say he was a good influence and got me into reading books or attending conferences. And then my eyes opened to this new world of entrepreneurship. So I started and closed a few businesses. And then at a certain point, I came in touch with this online marketing thing and everything that was about marketing. I was like, oh my God, like this seems to be awesome for any type of business. And then eventually realized that there was a way to work from home and manage my time and really do what I love. And eventually, well, it just got more specific and clear for me. And this is definitely like what I'm doing today. This is definitely what suits me the best. I mean, I love doing what I do, and I have with my clients, helping people, influencing them, helping them building their businesses and seeing them get results. This is so fulfilling and this is so me. So I'm happy that my path brought me there, but it was no straight line at all.
Oh, yes, I can definitely understand that. I know that there's that meme that's floating around that's, what you think the path between you and success is. And it's just this like nice straight line. But in reality, it's like all messed up and there's some like rivers in between and some rocks to climb and never a straight line.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you.
So talking about, as your business has kind of evolved and now you're in a place that you're really happy with, one of the things that you mentioned when we were chatting before the call is that you love working with high achievers. And I know that this is something that I can definitely relate to as well. I'm a creature of action and I love working with other people who are a creature of action as well. So I'm curious, what are some other qualities that you've come across that really contribute to your clients' success?
Oh, in my clients or in myself as an entrepreneur?
I would love if you could actually speak to both of those things. No pressure.
Okay, so within myself, I would say resilience, because there are a lot of things that happen, and we spoke about that like in a few seconds ago, about the fact that it's no straight line, the entrepreneurship road. And of course, you stumble or you prepare for something and then it didn't happen as you wish it did. And then it hits you, and then you're asking yourself all these questions and you're wondering if you're at the right place at the right time, if you made a wrong choice and all of that. So I feel that resilience as an entrepreneur is something that you must have if you want to keep moving forward. And I'm not talking about, being stubborn and continue to go on a path that's not good for you. I'm talking about recognizing that you made a mistake and actually regroup and introspect on it and find the right resources or try it again, but with a tweak or with finding the best resource for you to get to there. So I would say resilience is huge. The second thing would be being coachable. Right? So open-minded and being able to listen to what someone else has to say, and especially someone that had the path that you're having, or someone you're looking up to, or someone who has been there, done that, and who is willing to help you get there also. So again, I was an elite athlete, and in sports, well, you meet all types of people and you have coaches. And I had great coaches and some others were not so great coaches. But what I remember from my great coaches is that not only were they able to inspire me to always do better, but they were also able to make me understand like what my skill set is and what my power is, and really help that power go to that next level so I can perform the best way possible. And I feel that as a coach, this is what I have to do with the people that I'm helping, finding what their strengths are and just putting that like to the next level so they can shine better. I've for a long time thought that my weaknesses, I needed to develop them, until one coach told me that's the complete opposite. Actually, you don't have to correct all your weaknesses and become great at many things, but you have to find within yourself what your strengths are and push them forward and, like lean on these strengths. So this is how you're going to shine in your audience or within your clients and all of that. So, okay, so I said resilience, being coachable, being open-minded, and then I would also say being good at relationships. You said it yourself. Like, we came across each other a few years ago and you listened to my podcast. And then I remember you reached out, you sent a message, and we kept in touch all that time. And I don't know you personally. We never met live, but there's still something there that I can say, I know you better than someone else that I might have, met online through one post or whatsoever, because we did that mutual effort of connecting with each other regularly, even if it's not every week, even if it's been, let's say, I don't know, once every 6 months or something. But it's just like that little plus that you give to the person, then it just like puts you ahead of the rest of the crowd, because people don't take time to connect anymore. And it's as if like we're losing that personal touch, and we are just expecting that because it's online, you can do it like any type of way. But there's a right way to connect with people, and there's a right way to build relationships and trust. And I think that nowadays in business, this is what people are looking for. They're not looking for the years of experience you had, or how nice your logo is, or how many gazillions of people you've helped, but they really want to see like how you make them feel and how you interact with them and how you make them feel important and how you can solve their problems. So I think I gave a lot now.
Yeah.
So I think it's, yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, no, that was really amazingly valuable, just to kind of touch on some gold nuggets that I got out of there kind of in reverse order. So relationships, right? Like, I think that what I'm hearing from you is that in today's world, there's a lot of instant gratification and this kind of addiction to instant gratification. And no matter how quickly, you can access information or stuff via the internet, that doesn't replace time and interactions and actually putting kind of the heart and soul into desiring to connect to somebody. And I think that's really powerful. Other things I heard, playing to your strengths. This was a huge realization for me as well. We have this idea that, we have to kind of shore up our weaknesses and become this like kind of well-rounded person. And I mean, I think I'm hearing from you that we don't want to ignore where our weaknesses and challenges are. Rather, we want to discover our strengths, lean into them, which is what builds into this idea of resilience. And I love, 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 love your definition of resilience as incorporating critical thinking, not just keeping on going in one direction over and over again, even though you failed, but actually, as you continue in that direction, recognizing when you've failed, when you've made a mistake, regrouping, taking the time to be self-aware, understand what you need to do differently, what kind of different resources you may need. And as you said, they're being coachable and being able to kind of take feedback and shift accordingly. I think there's a lot of focus on perseverance. I'm one of those people who reads a lot. So like, hopefully I'm not pronouncing that word horribly wrong. But, we hear all the time that you need to kind of keep going, keep going, keep going. Don't let failure stop you. And I think that's so important. But equally important is this idea that you brought up of doing so consciously and intentionally. And I think that that's really powerful. Did I kind of capture what you said there?
Yeah, extremely well, actually.
Awesome. Thank you.
It was just, you said exactly what I said, but in a different way, and that's wonderful because that shows exactly how empathetic you are. So you're able to take someone's sayings and put it in your own words and still like give that message differently, but same message. So
thank you.
Everyone will get it.
Yes, I consider that to be one of my personal superpowers, but I definitely encourage all of our listeners who are hearing this. This isn't some like super secret tactic or technique. It is just active listening. And I encourage everyone to give it a shot because it's like really, really awesome. But kind of teasing us along here. So, this reminds me of something else that you were saying earlier, which is, that you don't believe in cookie cutter strategies. And one of the reasons that you have gone into, if I'm hearing and understanding understanding correctly, it sounds like one of the reasons you went into the field with one-on-one coaching and, small group masterminds and these types of things is because you don't believe in those cookie cutter strategies. So I'm wondering, obviously you're doing a lot of like critical thinking and probably asking questions and stuff, but do you have a particular kind of critical thinking process, or, what kinds of things do you do to help identify where someone's issue is and how you would go about helping them address it?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. I think it all has to do with the type of coach that I am, and probably like the background in physical therapy helps a lot because you deal with a lot of people having many problems, and you have to be able to put yourself like in their shoes and try to see like where they come from in order to make the right comment and ask the right question. So that's how I see it as a coach. I definitely ask this, or I make, let's say, this point, I put this point forward. But what I would say is like with the, as you said before, the active listening and also bringing up the question, I really want the person to realize and find and discover while we're having that conversation that, something came up. So it's not rare that within like coaching calls that clients are like, oh my God, I've never thought about this way, or oh, I've been dragging that for so long and now you put it in my face and now I see it, or just like bringing it to the conscious mind. And I'm not talking about like deep down 300% mindset work there, because I don't consider myself as a mindset coach, but I've done a lot of mindset work myself. And yes, during calls, if I can discover something or if I see something that might need my attention, then I ask a question or I make them realize something. And when I use the word make them realize, it's because I don't want to tell people this is what you have to do or this is what you need to do to fix this. Like it needs to come up first as something they're conscious about, and then they will have the power to change it. Because I can never have that. Let's say I can't brag about, well, I've helped this person become this person if that person is not willing to become that other person. You understand what I mean? So I wouldn't say that I have some specific like secret sauce or something, but I would say that I'm very great at listening really carefully and finding the right question to ask so it unfolds, and then people could switch or tweak an old pattern or something that they were doing that they didn't realize, and completely like go into another, let's say, turn another route and take this other road because what they were doing before was not necessarily helping them go forward with their business.
Okay. So what I'm hearing here is that in terms of helping somebody shift something kind of intrinsic or something they've been struggling with in terms of a habit, I'm hearing that, let's say if I wanted to help someone else with that digging into areas, asking questions and really listening to the responses, digging into areas that maybe need a bit more focus. I've heard that it's really, really important to encourage people to kind of come to their own conclusion and bring something up themselves in their own consciousness, because, and this is, I think, the real good nugget I'm getting out of this, is that you really can't convince someone to become someone else. So the goal here, if I'm understanding you correctly, is more to nudge them to see their situation in a new way that will let them nudge themselves out of their current patterns and into a new habit. Is that kind of like, we're kind of in the business of nudging, not like, taking and transplanting someone else, because ultimately that's not effective.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Okay, awesome. So let's say, I'm the one who is struggling with my critical thinking, or struggling, I'm persevering and going in the same direction, but I'm not getting the results I need. And I'm not kind of seeing or experiencing the changes and success that I'd like to. Do you have any feedback or suggestions for how I might go about developing those skills on my own?
Well, what I would say is that, first of all, what I like to do when someone expresses that as a client is just to really evaluate what has been done before and what has been the process in place, or what the person has been thinking prior to doing these steps, or why they're doing these steps, and what's the end goal behind it. And then, of course, see if this is the right sequence of actions, or if there are any stuff that we could change within these actions that the person have taken. And if like it's possible to make just a small change and for the person to get better results, well, that's what we do. And if the person is really not going in the right direction, then again, like bringing it into like just asking questions and seeing like if this is really helping going towards the goal. So let me give you an example that comes to mind is that I don't know why, but a lot of people think, especially when they are starting their businesses, that what they need to focus on before even having any clients is to have their website done, or their logo done, or their photo shoot done and their colors chosen and all that stuff. And what it is just distraction, especially when you're starting out. And what you want to do is bring in some money to your business and just bring in some client, that first client that you need in your business. So again, when people are doing that, I'm not telling them, well, forget about this. Like you can't just insult someone because you're like, well, you're doing the wrong thing and you took the wrong choices. That's not it. But just asking questions about like, okay, so what's your goal with putting your energy with this, and what do you feel it's going to bring in? And sometimes they have the right reasons, but it's just that it's not prioritized the right way. So it could be a project that's on hold, and then focusing on things that are more money generating activities for now, and then going back to that website eventually, and then realizing that maybe what they thought was going to be their website, like, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months ago, is not close to what they want to build today, because they have the client experience, and because they've been in business for a while, and because they know exactly what they want to put in their website. So yeah, I think that's kind of like how I would put it, and the example that I gave you, I hope it helps to understand what I said.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's an awesome example, because I think we can all relate a little bit, or maybe a lot, to the distraction of wanting to work on our website or our copy or our images or all these different things. What I'm hearing from you is that, if I'm working and doing stuff and identifying that it's not really leading me where I want to go, I'm kind of hearing a similar thing to your answer to the last question, where the answer is kind of like active listening, but on yourself. Asking yourself, what is my goal? Why is my goal? And more importantly, well, I think the goal is really important, but where the action kind of happens is, how can I reprioritize what I'm working on to achieve that goal, even if it means letting something go, and even if it means letting something go that you're enjoying working on. I'm hearing that just like in your answer to the other question, small changes for big results, if possible. A little nudge here, a little nudge there is kind of the ideal thing to ask yourself, instead of maybe overhauling your entire business. But I'm also hearing that if it's really, really not going in the right direction, the first step is to ask deeper questions and really dig in and ask, why isn't it going in the right direction? What direction am I even trying to go in? And really sitting with yourself and taking that time. I think that's a really useful insight. I know for myself, I can very often get distracted by kind of the fun parts of business, even if they're not the money-making parts of business.
But I think it's normal, though. We're human beings, and it's normal that sometimes we get distracted. The question is like, okay, so how much distracted you can get. And if you're easily able to see it, oh shoot, I'm doing this thing and I'm not supposed to, then you shift back into your taking action mode, into the right activities mode, and you're back on track. But the problem is when people, they go they're opportunity seeking, and they put their energy in so many directions. And I think that's a mistake a lot of us do. I've definitely done that mistake. There was a point where I was actually investing into each program that I would, they would pitch me on. I would be the perfect client, but did I finish all these programs when I started? Like, no, not at all. And one of them actually disappeared online by the time I realized I haven't, done it. So when I tried to log in, it was not there anymore. That's how long I waited until So I know, I know what you mean when you say that, and a lot of people are there, but I think it's just because at that point, when you're too distracted, it's because you're not clear on really what you want to be doing.
Yeah, that was definitely a big gold nugget there, and something that I'm always leaning into our strategists and pretty much everybody about. It's one of my soapbox things is identify the goal. Identify the goal of everything you're doing, from a meeting to your quarterly planning. Just make sure you understand where you're going, or else you'll have no idea whether or when you've gotten there, which I think sometimes we work and we put our nose to the ground so hard and for so long that we do kind of keep going quite a bit further in a direction that isn't helpful for us. Now, I'm curious, Fabienne, what are some other common barriers that you kind of see? So you've mentioned distraction. What are some of those other kind of like challenges or things that come up and keep us from achieving and getting clear on our goals?
Oh, wow. I would say self-worth and imposter syndrome. So
That's a
many
big
people
one.
don't value, yeah, they don't value themselves. And at a certain point, I was really there too. And that's why I always say that the people surrounding you and supporting you with your dream projects or your dream business or whatever you want to accomplish to become a better version of yourself is extremely important. It was at a period, like it was many years ago, and a period where I was trying to build stuff, but I would always stop right in the middle of it. So I wouldn't finish anything. And this had to do, like, when I first contemplated the business world and wanting to, accomplish stuff and all. And then my partner, he's my business partner, but he's also my life partner. He came to me and we had that serious conversation. He was like, you know what? Like I've been watching you like objectively over the few months, and it was like even more than a year. And he was like, it seems that whenever you're doing this or you're trying to accomplish something, then you stop in the middle of the road and then it fades out and you forget about the project and then you start a new one and all that stuff. And when he brought it up, of course, it hit me, right? Because I was like, really? And then I was like, oh my God, he's totally right. And at that time, again, I said earlier during this interview how important it is to be coachable and to seek out for help when you need it. I found a great life coach where I had like a few sessions with her, and definitely it had to do with my self-worth. So my self-sabotaging type of like attitude was, why would I need to go all the way? Because I knew that at the end it would fail.
Ooh, yeah.
That was the
big
whole
thing
thinking.
to acknowledge.
It was the whole thinking behind everything I was trying to accomplish. So why would I put myself like and give my 300% if I knew that the result was failure? So why, yeah, exactly. Why take action? Why not procrastinating anyways? Because anyways, it's not going to work out. And when I discovered that, it was like, for me, it was like, oh my God, right? You're like, what? This has been lying there. Oh my God. But again, it needed to be unfold, because if it still were inside of me, then I don't think that today I would have been where I am today, right? So again, I think that most of us as entrepreneurs, well, the biggest limiting point or dot on our path is ourselves. And sometimes sometimes all the time, actually, whenever we try to accomplish something big, it's important to dig in deep and understand ourselves and, understand our actions, or seek out for patterns if there are patterns. And then as soon as they're identified, okay, so can I do that myself, or I need some help to uncover this or to change that and whatsoever. And then when you do that, well, a new you comes alive. And let's say after that, I know that for me, it was just life changing. All of a sudden, it was easier for me to understand where all of these mistakes came from. And then I was able to go forward more into, starting something and really finishing it. So it felt great. But again, if I have not had that conversation with someone who loves me and loved me enough to bring it up, and in a way where I received it and was able to do something with it, then I would have been in that same place.
Yeah, I think that's That's really powerful. What I'm hearing is that the first step to go, well, I'm hearing that self-worth and imposter syndrome. Like I think almost no more need be said in terms of relating to that. I literally every single person I have spoken to that I've asked about imposter syndrome has talked about feeling it at one point or another. But what I'm hearing from you is that the first step to kind of defeating that barrier was to become aware of kind of what your sponsoring thought there was. Like, what was it about your kind of perceptions and beliefs that was really limiting you? And I'm also hearing that that wasn't something you were able to come to just on your own. It sounds like once you had that realization, you're able to kind of go pretty far with it. But working with other people who can kind of help you see the label from outside the bottle, I'm hearing that was kind of a critical piece of it. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But what I'm hearing is that the power of that is that once you were able to identify that, it's not like it just magically went away, but you were able to kind of observe it as what I'm hearing is that once you were able to observe it, it had less power over you and you were able to kind of persist through it. Is that, am I still on track?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially when it's stuff that you've been dealing with like for so long and it's been like limiting beliefs. I don't believe that it could go away within like just like that, but when you're aware of it and you're able to identify it, then it's easier afterwards, to see when it seems to come up, and learning how to getting the right help. It really guides you into how to deal with them afterwards, and then being able to go forward anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm hearing about patterns, right? Other people and, something to do by yourself, but also other people can help is identifying where the patterns are. When is it that this is coming up? What is it kind of preventing you from doing? And maybe even what could you accomplish if you moved through that, and maybe kind of counteract some of that negative visualization with some, reinforcing positive beliefs, maybe.
Exactly.
Right. Awesome. This is all lots of gold. And I know that our listeners are getting a ton of value out of this. I'm going to shift us direction just a little bit here because there's something I want to make sure that I cover, which is that I know that one of the things that I've long admired about you is your dedication to your family and your dedication to your kids. You mentioned that your business partner is also your life partner, and that, they were kind of really, really important to helping you keep that outside perspective and kind of reinforce that within you. What other ways has, being a mom and being a partner, especially in business as well as life, impacted your business and your success?
Yeah, that's a good question. First of all, I think that one of the key to our relationship, we always told ourselves is that we had to be honest with each other. And that it's funny because I heard this weekend, I heard Oprah interviewing Cookie, the Magic Johnson's wife. She just actually published a book, and she was talking about, when Magic announced that he was HIV positive, and she was really talking openly about how they dealt with it within their couple. And both of them promised to each other that they would have to discuss anything, even if it's uncomfortable, because that's the key for them to keep their relationship going. And when I heard that, and my partner was there also listening, and we were like, this is how we decided to live our lives too. It's not always, by, well, of course, cheering each other up and giving ourselves compliments and loving each other. Of course, that's all part of being a couple but it's also about being honest with each other, and also identifying when things might slip or go wrong, or if you see a pattern, as I shared earlier. So we're very honest with each other about this. So I think that really helped. And also it's funny because sometimes people are like, well, how do you do to work with your partner all the time in your business? And well, we had to learn to actually respect each other's strengths, and being able to understand that, okay, this is what I'm good at doing, and this is my responsibilities, and this is your responsibilities in the business, and not necessarily cross each other into our functions. And I think as soon as we understood that, It was a better way of working together. And seriously, I wouldn't ask to work with someone else in my business. I really enjoy that. And being a couple and in business together, I think for me, it's a plus. For some people, it'll be like, wait a minute, no, I would never be able to do that. But for me, like, it's fine and I love it. Being a mom, how it helps with the business. Lately, we had a conversation with our oldest, who's 15, and he said that seeing us do something different than all the other parents of his friends at school and all that stuff, he feels that he's privileged to see that because it opens his eyes on, there's not only one way to succeed in life. It's not necessarily getting your diploma, going to a job, and then working 30, 35 years at the same place or different places, but not working for someone else and all that stuff. He said that he's grateful that he's able to witness that sometimes if we want to take some time off and go see him, it happened already. Like see him, he had a music concert at lunchtime and we're able to be there for him. One time he had like a football tournament, a whole day. So he was missing school a whole day and then going to a tournament. So we were able to attend. So all these little things, but it seems that it adds up into what he sees that his parents are doing, and it might inspire him to whatever choice he makes when it's time for him to make that choice. So when we had that conversation, I was really happy, grateful, and thought to myself, well, kids learn. Sometimes we're not aware of how when kids observe what you're doing, that they're actually learning at the same time, and they don't necessarily try to model it, but like they see it, so it's part of their normal. And I love the fact that seeing us as entrepreneurs is a part of his normal. So if one day he sees that opportunity and he wants to create something or he wants to build his business, then he knows it's possible for him too.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And it totally comes full circle to what you kind of opened in talking about, which is you yourself growing up, kind of what you observed and how that affected your own perceptions of kind of what was possible. I think this also ties into what we were talking about in terms of like critical thinking, right? These particular types of skills that allow us to make more informed decisions and deal with failure and work towards goals effectively. That's what I'm hearing, your son was able to experience from you and your partner, living this lifestyle is not so much necessarily that he's going to become an entrepreneur and follow that lifestyle, but that's an option on the table for him. He doesn't necessarily need to go through his own path of kind of putting himself into a career, into something that maybe he's not stoked about, because he knows that there's other options out there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool. And has it all been rainbows and sunshine with being a mom and an entrepreneur? Or, trick question, of course.
No, not at all, actually. Especially with being a mom is like the guilt. It's you have to being open with it. And I spoke about that to one of my actual clients. She's a mom of 3 and she had big struggles with the guilt, working on her business and then being at work and then wanting to succeed and then less time with the family and stuff. But I think that sometimes as moms, we put too much pressure on our shoulders and we just need to express why we're doing this. And bottom line, most of us, we do that for the family, for freedom, for wealth, for being able to spoil our loved ones and travel more and do whatever we feel like. So that's why we're doing this. And I think that, like just expressing it to my oldest, now he understands it better. And it's fun to watch that. Hey, I mean, he understands that and he respects that. And I have also a little one, and I mean, he sees what we're doing but maybe it doesn't get it yet, but he will grow up into that environment and will set up like the same standards for him and give him freedom to choose what he feels like doing when he grows up. But it took me a while also, like for the guilt thing, like understanding that at first it was like convincing myself that I was doing that for the right reasons. But now I'm mostly saying, I'm not convincing myself. I am doing this for the family, like in the name of freedom, like the real freedom. And that's what makes me wake up every morning and wanting to do what I'm doing and help influence others to do the same. So yeah, it's not, of course, it's not always easy, because sometimes, the little one wakes up at night, nightmares and all that stuff. You barely sleep, or, the oldest might have like some issues with school or with anything else. And then, it might stress you out for a while, but then all of that, I think it's just the joy of having a family and dealing with it. And it's kind of like related to the entrepreneurial journey, because it's no straight road. I mean, and it's funny because my parents always said, wait until you have kids. And then you're like, yeah, whatever. And then you have kids, you're like, oh my God, like, is that it? Like, I never thought it would be so bad, like, because you think your parents are telling you that just, like to make you believe that they do a lot of stuff, but they actually did a lot of stuff. And as a parent now, I totally get it. So yeah, I'm happy to be at the place I am, though. Like, I'm very grateful to have like 2 LP kids and a lovely partner and all that stuff. I wouldn't change that for nothing else. And yeah, so that's how my family life has influenced who I am as an entrepreneur.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I know that so many of us, I mean, I don't have kids yet, but definitely one of my main motivations for becoming an entrepreneur and working from home was so that I could build something before I had kids and then be present with my family when I do. But I know that many, many of our listeners have families. And so this is a big thing for people, How do you balance those two? How do you balance that guilt? How do you navigate these challenges? So I do like to ask about that when I see somebody who is rocking it, in my opinion. But we are kind of getting to the end of our spot here, and I am going to have to wind us down. So I have 3 lightning round questions. Are you ready to answer?
Yeah,
awesome.
I am.
So the first one, it's actually really cool. And I think it's great that we're segueing into it because you actually already answered it. My first question is actually what gets you up in the morning? And you've already shared, that it really is that freedom and that knowledge that you're building towards that for yourself as well as for your kids. Did you have anything else to say or answer for that?
I would say that I'm a people's person, so I'm a teacher at heart, and I love to share what I know, and I love to influence. So basically, like having that opportunity to help people get their own freedom and get out of a job that they don't like and stuff like that, well, it really fulfills me. The reaction that I get from my clients or the results that I get from them fuels me. It's amazing.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Okay, next question. What is the number one thing that you do to preserve your wellness?
Ooh. I love to actually it's funny because I do that with my little one every evening. I go on a long, maybe 30-minute car ride next to the river, close to where I live, because it's very peaceful.
Heck yeah.
It's quiet, and it's time where sometimes I put music, sometimes it's complete silence, but it just like makes me feel relaxed and not necessarily thinking about stuff. And sometimes this is where I get my great ideas. Yes. So that's one thing that I really appreciate doing for myself, but also I guess my little one enjoys it because he loves those car rides.
I can definitely relate to that. I was one of those people who loved car rides as a kid and still kind of do now. But definitely what I'm hearing is that nature time and that space to maybe not have anything on your agenda and just be able to be. I know that those are moments where I have kind of big creative potential as well. So last question in the lightning round. What is the weirdest habit that contributes to your success that you have?
Weird.
However you want to define that.
Well, it's not, I don't know if it's weird, but I'm actually someone who I never go to bed before like really finding my clothes for the day after and putting the clothes for the little one and have everything fixed. Like I feel that my ideas are clearer when everything is set up.
So being kind to your future self is what I'm hearing. Getting them set up so your future self just has to be present.
Exactly. Yeah, let's put it that way. I love it how you put
awesome.
it.
Well, feel free to use it elsewhere. All right. And to wind us down and bring us home, if our listeners want to find out more about you, what you do, or anything that you might have for them, where can they do that?
Oh, they can do that at FabienneRaphaël.com. Very easy to remember.
Excellent. So we will link to that in the show notes as well. I know that you have a mastermind retreat coming up, and we could also throw a link to there as well if anyone's interested in hearing more about that. And I mean, this was awesome. I really, really appreciated what you have to share. You know, we're really big on the kind of real talk and behind the scenes. And I think a lot of this mindset and perspective stuff that you're talking about is just so powerful. You can be doing all the quote unquote right things. I have big finger quotes there in terms of growing your business, but generally we tend to get in our own way. And I really appreciated kind of that, the ways that you shared in which we can get into our own way, and the ways that you've unpacked that we can get out of our own way. So thanks again for coming on the show, Fabienne.
Well, it was my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Yay. Awesome. Well, I am looking forward to continuing to keep in touch and see how things evolve and grow for you. This has been just an absolute pleasure. And to all of our listeners, I hope you have a great day. And that does it for another amazing episode of the Say It Online podcast. Join us next week. And don't forget to like and subscribe, whether it's iTunes, whatever your favorite podcast player is. It is always, always appreciated. It really makes a difference for us. It helps us get this word out to more people. As always, this episode was brought to you by our sponsor and Say's own business, Anansi Content. If you're a digital agency owner and you're still wasting too much time chasing down content that maybe isn't even all that great, let's talk. We've spent years working on the best process for selling, planning, and delivering amazing conversion content for your client projects. Better yet, we moosh our process to yours so that your client and you have a seamless and amazing experience the entire time through. If you're interested, just go to our website. That's www.anansicontent.com. That's ANANSI content.com. And just click Let's Talk. I'd love to chat with you. Someone else on the team would also love to chat with you too. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day.